Today, I'm joined by an incredible artist all the way from out in the roots of South Dakota. How you doing, dude?
Good,
Denham,
man.
welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me out.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. So why are you out in New York City right now, dude? I hit you yesterday on the DMs, and I saw that you're out here. I didn't expect to see you out here, but now you're here in real life. So what's going on, dude?
Yeah, I'm out. Came out, got an opportunity to be on this internet hip hop series called Take a Seat and Rap, and with 100G. And so we came out and shot yesterday, and then hanging out next day, and then going back on Monday.
Yeah, how'd that opportunity come to be?
Honestly, just had an agent of mine originally reach out, and at first we kind of sent some music to him, and wasn't really getting much feedback for a little bit too. So then I finally kind of took something I saw online of his and just kind of sent a demo out to him quick, and then after that they booked it the next day. So
Let's go. That's crazy. So how quick did it, like from when you heard that you were doing it to when you got out here, like how long was that gap?
it was just basically the next available chance it kind of had, and so it was probably, say 3 weeks or so, and then
Nice, dude. And this is your first time out in New York City?
first time. Yeah.
Welcome to beautiful Stamford, Connecticut.
Yep.
They don't see it, but my studio's obviously like a little messy right now. I've been working on construction and, trying to get everything together. But one thing I know, though, is that you recently did a show with Young Gravy.
Yes.
Let's talk about that, dude. How did that opportunity come to be? What's something that happened during that show? I've heard from previous guest Moonlander that Gravy's fans go hard.
Yeah, I do. I actually know Moonlander too. Tell him what's up. Yeah, I landed from I had this college agent that I've been working with, and there's like a college basically like committee that you submit music to, and they have like regional like conferences essentially, and students from their activities will review the talent, and when they review the talent, they'll vote on which one they like the most from like it's like 100 schools or something like that, and they have like magicians, comedians, public speakers, like all type of stuff, and they select I think their top 3 of every category, and then after that, then you go, if you get selected, then you get to perform at the conference for it. And so like I performed at the conference, and then a few schools you get done, they go right to booking you, and this school had shown a lot of interest, and they had booked us a while back. Didn't even know, I think probably before they had Gravy actually going there, and then yeah, sure shit, checked it out, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, the show's with Gravy, I was like, hell yeah, that's what's up, like.
Yeah, what's something that you remember from like the show, or like something that like stood out, maybe like a little story or something, if there was anything?
Yeah, coolest part about it, there's a moment. It was the show was at this college called Gustavis College in St. Peter, Minnesota, and so my first ever arena show was like 10 or so years prior, right up the road in Mankato. It's like 10 minutes away from there. And when I played that show, we were opening for Yellow Wolf there, and I was with I met somebody who became a really good friend of mine. And when we came out on the show, our first 10 seconds into the set, I started throwing water, and it hit our laptop and crashed the whole set.
No,
right?
dude.
Yeah, I did, like right away. And then my buddy just did a little freestyle, and then we were done. Like the whole thing was maybe 2 minutes long, Well, so since then though, I mean, for a while, we made music for a long time, and he actually passed away not too long ago.
I'm sorry for your loss, dude.
And thanks, man. And this was my first show back of my own since then. It happened to be an arena that was like 10 minutes away from there, and so I kind of gave that story to the kids a little bit before we sang a song, and I told them like I did like the whole put light in your phone, because like sometimes I look up.
I think I saw the video of it actually.
And they just showed out really heavy for it. I kind of had a moment, but after the song was over, the most powerful part was like I kind of had a moment, and I had to turn around a second. You know what I mean? I kind of got emotional, and this was after the applause kind of died down. But they could see that that's happened to me, and then they just like erupted even like heavier, just to kind of like in support, And that was one of the coolest moments that I ever had at a show.
Damn, that sounds incredible, dude. Like I'm getting goosebumps just hearing about it. Dude, Denham, I want to peel back the layers of the onion of what is your life, dude. So I want to take it back. I want to know what it was like growing up for you.
Yeah, so I mean, I grew up in a small town. I'm born in Colorado. Then my parents split up. I moved with my mom to a small town in South Dakota. And my mom's side of the family is a lot of, they come from like a musical education background, essentially. Like, my uncle was a band director for multiple years, and my cousin's a music teacher, and so that's kind of how I kind of started, getting involved in music. The problem of being in like a place like that though is like they didn't really. It's all standardized, you know what I mean? But there's not really a spot for you to express yourself outside of like what their vision of music is, right? You know,
what is their vision of music?
It's like it's like classically trained, like
pianist.
You're like singing Eric Whitacre, and you're like, you know what I mean? And you're like playing like there was like there was jazz band. That was like the one where I actually could, but like it was common to be like when I would start singing something, and I would kind of do it my own way. They're like, no, stick what's on the page, like do what's on the page, And so like
no coloring outside the lines kind of deal.
Yeah, exactly like that. And so I think like a lot of times when kids do that, like they know they love music, they just don't know why, because they're not able to express that in the way they want to. And so then like, so what they do is they play their instrument and they maybe go to college and play it, and they pack it away for the rest of their life and just tell everybody how good they were in high school. Like I was first chair kind of thing, whatever. But I ended up going to college and making some music with some guys, and that kind of is where I really started learning and finding my bond with music, you know what I mean?
Thank you for tuning in to the Mike Squires and Friends podcast. You can support by subscribing on YouTube or downloading on your preferred podcast platform. And definitely go do that because it helps us grow and I can have more incredible guests on the podcast. The Mike Squires and Friends podcast is proudly sponsored by Drokid. Looking to broaden your musical horizons as an artist? Discover Drokid. With its smooth and rewarding music distribution platform, Drokid offers unlimited uploads while ensuring artists retain 100% of their royalties and earnings. Join the community of over 1 million artists who trust Drokid to distribute their music across major platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, TikTok, Tidal, and so many others. Having personally used Drokid since 2018, I can attest to their superiority amongst distribution services. Collaborating with fellow artists has become effortless, especially with the ability to easily send splits of songs, streamlining the creative process. With the Drokid app, accessing these benefits is now more convenient than ever. Safely sign up or log in with two-factor authentication, upload releases on the fly, monitor earnings, and withdraw funds from your Drokid bank. Stay updated on royalties through push notifications, effortlessly share hyperfollow links, manage account details seamlessly, and track streaming stats from Spotify and Apple. Additionally, explore Mixia for professional-grade mastering, DistroVid for music video distribution, and Instant Share for secure file sharing with collaborators, producers, and more. The Drokid app is available on both iOS and Android. Download it today from the App Store or Google Play Store to revolutionize your music career. Visit distrokid.com/VIP/Mike Squires to get 30% off your first year membership. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of Mike Squires and Friends. Paint a little picture of what it's like growing. So you would say you grew up more in like South Dakota?
Yep.
So like, give us a picture of like what it was like growing up in South Dakota. You know what I mean? Like, what is something that you'd see like hanging out with friends? Like, what is it like? And like, paint the picture of South Dakota for us a little bit, because I think, even for me as somebody who's, doing a project with all these different states, like even I have a perception of like what these states are like, but my perception of what they're like might not be what it's actually like. So what's going on in South Dakota, dude? Break it down for me a little bit.
So the town I grew up in, there's only about 20,000 people. And so, you have your group of friends, and they're pretty much your group of friends for your whole life.
Are they still your group of friends?
Yes. I still talk to some of them. And you'd just have to find ways to keep yourself busy, because I was born in the 90s and stuff. So like, internet really wasn't a huge thing until like I was like until I started like getting a little bit older, and so we would just be menaces basically around town, and we would just ride our bikes everywhere, and just like find a way just to keep ourselves. There's people that are like a lot of people are like country-ish, and they're like doing like bonfires and their parties, and they're doing like things like that. But I was never really into all the country stuff,
Yeah, give me an instance of like some knuckleheaded activity that you got into back in the day. Like, do you have a story or something that happened from like your youth that we wouldn't know about?
Oh man, there's a lot of them. I remember we built this huge slingshot
That's sick.
And we were taking like water balloons with them, and it was a 3-man operation. We had 2 people had to hold it, and one of them had to like pull way back, and it would shoot it like 300, 400 feet. Like it would.
That's sick, dude.
Go along. So we would go and we'd hide behind the river while there was softball games going on.
Just launch them into
We were
oblivion.
launching them into the field.
And you were so far away that like by the time anyone tried to catch you, you were already gone.
Gone.
Yeah, it's crazy. A giant. I don't think I could pull that off here, dude. I think I'd get in trouble, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Is there just like a lot of open area? Like, what's the vibe out there? You know?
I mean, that part of it's really, honestly, it's flat. It's cornfield. It's like, you know, it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. I'm not gonna lie. And yeah, I mean, there's not really a ton of action that really goes on out there. You know, it's but I just like, as I got older and experienced the world and stuff too, it's like, you know, it's tough for me to imagine myself going back and living, you know.
Yeah.
There, you know what I mean?
No, I definitely feel that on some aspects too, of just like different chapters of my life. But I want to pull it back to your music too, because I want to know like what was one of the first moments where you're like, oh, maybe this music thing is for me. Maybe I can do that. Do you remember like around what time of your life you felt that maybe?
Yeah. So like, honestly, this weird thing in my life, like I've always felt like this is what I want to do for some reason. Like when I was a little kid, I used to drive under bridges and like make a wish that I'd become a musician one day, you know? But like when I got into college, I was just kind of like rapping and stuff. I think I just like wanted to be cool, and I wanted to get to know people, and I wanted to like feel something, you know what I mean? Like in that sense. And then, but it never really gave me that like real deep stimulation as it did until like the one day I actually, you know, released a song that I had people say like, yo, I felt this, like this actually made me feel something. You helped me throughout, you know, this helped me make my day better, helped me make my understanding of some emotions I had. And like when that really hit was when I was like, this is what it is. You know what I mean?
Did you have any mentors?
So I did for a little bit, when I was in college, I went there and I was taking bass lessons, and my bass teacher Bill Law kind of mentored me, and he put me on with this lady named Amanda Warner, and she had and I was just kind of like a little shithead at the time, you know, ego to the sky and stuff too, whatever. So it kind of fizzled out a little bit, but she was the first person that actually like, you know, kind of believed me a little bit, helped me out a little bit, and she sings that song "Bang Bang Bang" with Q-Tip.
Okay, that's like insane, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like, God, what's her artist name?
But yeah, dude.
MNDR.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's super fire, dude.
And I was the first person that kind of did, and then kind of fizzled out, mostly because it's my attitude, you know what I mean? And then afterwards, I kind of got a chance to work a little bit with like, you know, Cupid a little bit, and he kind of gave me a little bit of knowledge. It was cool. And
how did that connection happen, and like what's something that you learned from working with Cupid?
Honestly, we opened for him in the show, and it was kind of a slower show, so he kind of hung around and like, you know, watched and came and he talked to me afterwards, like saying like, I really like your style, I think you got some potential. If you ever want to come down to, you know, New Orleans and cut a track and whatever, you should. And then so like, you know, I instantly, you know, call my buddy up. I'm like, hey, we're going, you know. And so I sold some shit that I had to make some money. I guess. Do
you remember what you sold?
Yeah, TV. It was a TV, and then I had like a chair thing that I sold, whatever. And then I just kind of dug some money out of some savings and stuff, and I had enough to make it happen.
Yeah, I think sometimes people underestimate what it takes to like make things happen, especially in the beginning, dude. Like you find yourself doing things that you wouldn't even think about doing just to make it happen.
Right.
Can you tell me one of the biggest like things that you had to do that was just maybe out of pocket, unorthodox for something for your music career?
Man, kind of a lot of things, but I sold steaks door to door.
Oh, nice, dude.
Yeah, that before. I had that to make some extra cash, and I was told that you do this for a summer, you might as well have a 4-year communications degree, you know? And so like I really learned how to talk to people.
Which is actually an incredible skill that people overlook, dude. Communication's everything in this game.
Yeah, 100%. And just the confidence to talk to a stranger and understanding body language and understanding situations, you know, situational awareness. And that is...
Did you have an out-of-pocket experience while selling steaks that you can remember? Like,
yeah, I got...
Tell me one, dude.
We can talk about this all day. Man.
Yeah, so paint the picture for me. This is in South Dakota.
So this was actually in North Dakota.
This is in North Dakota. We're going door to door. We're selling steaks.
Yeah, you load up in the morning, you load up in a van, and you have like a case of like no-name steaks and have like 50-something steaks in it. And you have like 12 of them, and you can go anywhere in North Dakota, Minnesota, South Dakota, as long as you come back by like midnight that night, and you try to empty your truck out, basically, right?
That's crazy. So you ring the doorbell. Who answers who's the craziest person that's answered the door and you're like, oh my God, what am I doing?
Man, so many crazies I've answered the door, but it's not necessarily like, I mean, it depends on like on the situations that kind of come from it, you know? Every answer the door and you're kind of like, you know, it's always kind of like,
are they really like standoffish like at first? Do you know what I mean?
Most people. Yeah. Most people are, you know what I mean? But you know, I have people like call the cops on me.
Damn, for selling the steak, and you're like, no, like for real, I got everything you need. Like, I got the prime rib, I got the flank steak. You know,
well, you need some places you need permits in the city, so I got arrested one time. Actually.
No, dude, this took a dark turn. You got to tell me. I'll share something too after, so that we're both in this together. But you got to tell me about what that day looks like. You can't bring up that you're selling steaks, get arrested, and then not bring up how. You know what I mean?
And so I was out in Williston, North Dakota, and they had this big oil boom.
Okay.
And so out during the oil boom, they had a lot of door-to-door salesmen, where it was kind of being like a nuisance in the city, so they like really cracked down on it kind of hard. And I was out not hitting the street, you know, whatever, knocking down doors, whatever, and then this one guy just kind of came and just to the door and just was enraged. And I was like, sorry to bug you, man. Like, you know, went to the next one. I got like 3 doors down. Next thing you know, the cops pulled up, and they came and asked us, and we didn't have our city permit, and yeah, sure, they locked us up.
Damn, dude. So, do you like? Was it just a day? Like, how long? Like,
yeah, I mean, I sat at holding cell for a little bit, and then our boss like bailed us out, and then I had to like pay back afterwards, you know, and stuff. But
that sucks, dude. I'll share a quick thing too, because I want to focus on you, but I feel like you telling me that story, like I like have to put something out there. One time I was so sick, dude. I've never told this story really. I was like, I must have had 100-degree fever. I just was out of it. And I had a video shoot that day, and I was like, dude, I gotta cancel this shoot. And the dude would not take no for an answer. So he was like, no, we're doing this today. And I'm like, dude, I am so sick. Like I was like, literally, and so I live in Stamford, Connecticut. The shoot is at UConn, like the campus, and it's about like an hour and a half away, 2 hours away, right? So he's like, I was like, dude, I can't drive. He's like, no worries, I'm gonna come get you. So this dude drives down, picks me up. We drive back, and it's their spring weekend. And at their spring weekend, they actually don't allow like, and I was younger at the time, they don't allow like off-campus students on campus during their spring weekend. So I'm sick as hell. And then all of a sudden we're like, it's nighttime now. It's dark. You know what I mean? By the time like he picked me up and got back, we see ahead of us a checkpoint, like a police checkpoint. Keep in mind, I'm not supposed to be there. I'm sick. I'm like dying. Like I am just like sitting there, just all I'm thinking about is like, yo, please let this be over. He pulls off to the side in the brushes. He's like, I need you to get out the car. And I'm like, keep in mind, I got 100-degree fever. I am literally dying. And I was like, what? He's like, you need to get into the trunk. I was like, what, dude? I was like, what do you mean? He's like, dude, there's a police stop up there. They're not allowing the students that any like off-campus students that are, or like anybody who's not a UConn student is not allowed on. He's like, get in the trunk. So I get in the trunk. I'm just like there shivering, like, cause I'm like so sick. Like, and sometimes I think back to this moment, but I'll tell you what happened. So we get through, like they stop. I hear the cops talk to them. We get through. Nothing really happens. But every once in a while, I'll think about like, what if they open the trunk? what if they open the trunk? Like, just I'm shivering. Like, I should have been like, help me, help me. Oh man, but yeah. The point is like and that was for a video gig. You know what I mean? Sometimes you got to do some ridiculous things to like make your dreams happen.
100%.
So that's like kind of where I'm tying it in. But
100%.
Okay, so let's pull it back to I want to pull it back to your music too, because you've had the opportunity to not only open up for incredible people, but you've done like festivals and everything. So I kind of want to just, you know what, do me a favor and just hammer off a bunch of people that you've opened up for.
Man, so we've played with, you know, Kevin Gates, Tech Nine, Kid Ink, Gravy, Bryce Vine.
A lot of people, dude.
Yeah, kind of.
Tell me a story about opening up for Kevin Gates. What does that day look like?
So that day was a very
And where are we at in the world?
day. This is actually in Sioux Falls.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's in Sioux Falls. Yep. And we were there, and it was obviously I'm just really excited for it, you know. And I'm in town, so it's nice to kind of prep, and it's at this like arena in town. It's like, you know. And so we're just kind of prepping, doing the sound check and getting ready, and just kind of ready to experience it all. Show goes really well. It was just very interesting to see. I've never seen him live before. And so if you've seen him live,
I've only seen the photo, you know, and you know the photo I'm talking about, right? The one, like the two phones where it's like nobody should be jumping that high, dude. Like no song calls for that, dude.
So I mean, he's very like deep into his sets, right? And sometimes like, you know, it's very emotionally driven, and you know, his emotions, they go from different, you know, obviously go through different types of emotions to all your songs, you know. It was just funny because, like, you know, where we live is a predominantly country market and stuff, you know? And so, like, for him to come there.
I feel like he'd actually do good, though, because I feel like something about Kevin Gates, because I like Kevin Gates' music. But he's kind of got, like, this country twang to him, too. You know what I mean? A little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was like 5,000 or 6,000 or something like that.
Oh, insane, dude, yeah.
So it was pretty good. But he, you know, when he started going into, like the sexual part of Kevin Gates.
Yeah, nah, that song does throw me off. Like, I'll be like listening to two phones. Really, that would come on. I'm like, yo, what the? Just riding by myself in the car too. It's
like half the crowd was like didn't know what to do, and the other half was like,
I would have been that
women
half.
just screaming, right?
I would have been mad awkward. I would have just been like standing there, like I would have NPC'd out, dude. I would have been like, yo, what do I do here?
Oh man, and it's like you know, super graphic, and it's like
no,
know.
I know the song. I'm familiar with the record you're referring to, dude.
Well, there's like this, but before he does it, he's telling a story beforehand.
Oh no, that makes it worse, dude. Why would he do that?
And it was
explaining it is almost worse.
Oh man,
do you remember what he said in the story?
Oh yeah,
Talk to me, dude.
And he's always like, you know, I like it when they arch their back up. And when he said when the pussy all looking at you drooling.
Kevin Gates, dog. Dude, and he's got some quotables. I won't be quoting that one, dude.
There's a lot more to it. It lasted probably about 2 to 3 minutes.
Is he not catching the vibe of the crowd? Or, well, you know, some people are probably into it. That's what I'm saying. Some people are into it. Yeah.
But I had a friend with.
And then there's like the 13-year-old kid who just likes two phones, dude.
And there's
horrified.
My friend's uncle that brought his high school daughters to the concert.
Oh no!
And didn't know what it was, and it was just like, he was just like, what did I just do?
One of your boys is like, yo, that was the best thing I've ever seen, dog. You know what I mean? It's like, no, that's funny, dude. It's funny. Let's run it back to Kid Ink, dude. Like, what? Talk to me about the Kid Ink show. Like, what
that was the same show, actually. So they're touring awesome. Together. Yeah, so the same show. So
that's actually a really good tour package, actually, or like a show package. That was actually really sick. So, you know, Kid Ink, I would imagine, was being way more normal.
Yeah, I mean, his show is cool. I mean, he's got so many bangers too. You know
what I mean?
Like,
dude, he's got so many. I actually worked with Kid Ink a long time ago, like around the time that Show Me came out, and he did like a tour run up here, and I was like the photo video guy for that part of the tour.
Hell yeah!
But he's the man. I haven't talked to him in a very, very long time, but yeah, no, I think from what I remember, just like very nice dude and just like grounded. You know, do you get an opportunity to like speak? Did you talk to Kevin Gates after this?
No, I didn't. And
it's probably for the best, dude.
And I just briefly, like, so our green room was like, kidding that they had to walk through our green room, kind of like, it's this locker room to get to theirs. So I walked by and just said what's up, but didn't really get to have a conversation though. So
No, that's fair, dude. And then I'm trying to think. Am I remembering this that you opened up for Bone Thugs?
yep. So I opened up for Bone Thugs at the Sturgis motorcycle rally.
Talk to me about this, dude. Yeah, what does that look like, dude?
That was awesome. It was interesting though, because it was like right in the borderline of COVID, kind of.
Yeah,
And
on the way out.
No, the way in.
The way in, that's crazy, dude.
And like so South Dakota.
That's a scary time. That's a spooky time.
So South Dakota was like a very free state where they're like, here's the information and we're gonna let you be responsible and decide what you want to do with it, right? She has business owners and stuff too. But then there was like a bunch of people that came in, they were like, this doesn't exist, whatever. And so like the concert was like packed. It was like packed. And but like we didn't get to interact or anything because like what we did, it was like all the performance side of stuff was all isolated. Everything was like distance and everything was ever. So we just came, performed, and we left and did our, that's kind of how it was.
Yeah.
But the rally itself was
Great. I want to talk to you about some of your festivals too, because I have this vision of you in my head where it's like you were performing in the middle of the woods. You know what I'm talking about? Because that was one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my life.
That was one of the coolest things I've been a part of.
All right, you got to run me through what that opportunity is, how it came to be, the day of getting there, and just give me the story, dude.
Yeah, so there's a music festival called Electric Forest, and a buddy of mine named Equanimous, he's a DJ, and we had collaborated in some music, and he ever told me, he's like, hey man, if you ever want to come play this song live sometime, and I told him, I was like, yeah, I'd absolutely love to, and I was like, when's the next thing? He's like, oh, I got some other shows coming up, and then some, kind of some smaller ones. And so then we went and did probably 3 or 4 shows on this tour with him. And, every time I come out, the energy is really good. It's kind of nice for a DJ to add some live elements to the show, a little bit here and there. So, I mean, he's a killer DJ. So, and it just so went over really well every time. And so then he was like, hey, man, I'm playing Electric Forest. Like, it'd be really cool if you came and played on my set, for it. And I was like, hell yeah, let's do it, And so we went out there. And you can like take this like shuttle across the lake, whatever, you know what I mean? It's like an oldest like gas motored boat. Like, I don't care what the heck it is or whatever. And you can it's the same distance as if you were to drive, but you don't have to drive. You just park your car on it. It ferries you over, whatever. And then we show up to this festival and it's like 50,000 people at this festival. There's like 9 stages. And like everything in the forest is like interactive.
Oh, insane. You got to explain that to me a little bit.
So say there's a birdhouse. You could open the birdhouse up and there'd be like a note there and they'd be like, go talk to this person somewhere and they'll give you directions.
Mad quests to do.
There's quests. There is like throughout the thing and it's like wild. And so we played right away the first day, Thursday, and and we played just right before Levity. And Levity kind of blew up at Electric Forest,
that's really dope.
From there too, whatever. And so we were playing on this honeycomb stage, and the stage was like an octagon, and all the subs are underneath the stage, and you're completely surrounded by people, and they're hanging up all the speakers like in the trees and stuff. And it was probably 2,000 people around this stage, and they're like right there on you. And the energy was just electric in there. It was crazy.
No, it looks sick from what I saw too. What's like one of the craziest things that you saw maybe off stage while you were there? Because I know I used to do a lot of like EDM videos, so I know how those EDM shows can get, dude.
Man, honestly, it's really well ran and taken care of. So besides people just being festival, people just having a good time.
Yeah.
I was mostly impressed just by the artist's hospitality.
Oh, really? Talk to me about it, dude. What it look like?
Yeah, you got free massages, free haircuts. They had swimming pool that had like a DJ all day, every day, DJs playing, and and good food, and they had air conditioned showers and bathrooms and carts that would take you like wherever stage you want to go to. Those take you there and pick you up, bring you back, and like it was like the hospitality was incredible up
That's
there.
very sick. That always makes me happy to hear, because you know what? You never really hear about the good ones. You always hear about like the fire festivals with like the slap of cheese on the bread. You know what I mean? Like no one ever talks about like, oh, those guys actually did a good job. You know what I mean? It's always like, yo, this was Terrible. The Fire Festival dude is doing round 2, dude. Or I don't know if you've seen that. Yeah. Would you perform on Fire Festival? He hits you today.
If it happened?
If it like, I don't know. He just like, yo, we got this bag for you. Like, you just got to lock in and trust the process.
Yep, I'm gonna need it all up front.
No, that's fair, dude. So let's talk about like some of your music, dude. You know, like dive into your catalog. What was like one of the first moments of success you've seen with a song that you put out?
Yeah, one of the first moments, I made a song with a Minneapolis artist named POS.
Okay.
And we had we connected, and it was the first time I saw like a song kind of take a life of its own online.
I know that feeling, dude.
It's the coolest feeling ever, and like seeing that, and then having like so many strangers reach out to you from that, you know, it was a really cool feeling, and I was able to leverage that to like get me into play places, and you know, but the craziest moment was when people would call me, or not call me, but message me, and maybe from like other countries, and they'd be like, "This song saved my life today." Like that song especially, I've had multiple people say that song saved their life, you know? And that was like the most surreal moment of, you know, of music I've ever had, you know?
What's the inspiration behind the record?
Yeah, so I mean, so the song is literally just about like being stuck in this like place of like emotional like purgatory, essentially. You know what I mean? Where it's like, you know, it's like that feeling of like, you know, when you're down, you feel you can't get up, and when you're up, it's still not as good as it can ever be, you know?
The next rung on the ladder, the infinite ladder, dude. I know that. Yeah.
Right? And so it's like, you know, it's about like, you know, it's about like finding ways, trying to find your peace and your happiness, you know, within yourself, because, you know, anything exterior outside of it is never really going to do you the justice it needs to until you figure out how you work, you know?
What made you want to make a song like that?
I'm not really sure, to be honest. Like, to be honest, when I was in the studio with him, I just wrote the hook idea, and he recorded his verse. I had a hook idea, then I came back and finished the rest of the song later. But I think it was just how I felt in the moment, you know? It's just like, I was just like, you know, at that point in time, I was like, I'm doing this thing, and I just, you know, a lot of times when I'm writing my songs, I try to be immersed in emotion, you know, and then I'll draw from a bunch of different stuff like throughout life to try to like, you know, or just like experiences that like people I've known taken, and try to like explain it in my own view from it, kind of, you know, to kind of create that. But it I just had to be feeling that in the moment, you know.
No, it makes sense to me, dude. What's another song that like you've done that just stands out to you that like might have been like a different process than usual, or like you made the song and you're like, oh, whoa, this is something special?
I mean, there's a few songs, but it seems like the ones that I think are the most special sometimes don't seem to get the most traction.
That's the story of my life, dude. Like,
and the ones you don't expect to get the most, you know? Like,
yeah, that's pretty much how it goes 100% of the time, dude. Like, I do have one record that I was like, oh, I know this is gonna go, and it did. But other than that, like my favorite records are all like my poverty records, dude. Like I've like lost money on 100% of them, but it's okay. We don't have to talk about that. But I was actually having this conversation today too, or not today, but yesterday, that, you know, not every play that I do in music, and maybe this applies to you too, like makes money. Most of them don't make money, actually. I'd say like 70% don't, but the 30% that do make the money make the other 70% worth it. You know what I mean? So it's like, because someone was just asking me about like the finance, especially like with the 50 States project. I was like, dude, most of those records have not made money. You know what I mean? So I was just like, and granted, you have eternity to make the money. You know what I mean? But like, I don't know. The point I guess I'm trying to get to here is that like, it's really not a sport that you're into if you're into the money, because like, it's so fickle, and it's like you pour your heart into a record, right? And you're like, yo, this is the one. This is the one that changes everything. Upload it, and it's like, you know, maybe things are better a little bit, but it's like, it's more of just like a one rung at a time versus just like, at least from my experience, like,
you gotta love it to do it though, for sure.
Yeah, it's very gradual. You know, have you had a moment though, like, or anything in your career that was like, you just felt like things were happening like really fast, or like, this is crazy right now? Like a milestone moment in your career, maybe.
I guess I just have times where it's like I feel like it gets kind of slow, and then times where it's just like one thing after another. You know what I mean?
I know
like,
exactly what you mean.
And so like the times that, and I feel like every year it starts snowballing a little more, where like more of those events happen. You know what I mean? And there's less downtime. And just every year it keeps picking up a little more and more and more and more. And like, it's like, and like this year I'm like really staying really busy. And it's like, when I finally quit my job and, I just like, went to just doing music full time, like that was probably one of those moments, because it's like, I just got so much shit going on. I can't work.
Do you remember that moment? Like, talk to me about that. Like, where are you at? Where are you working? And, are you like fed up, or like how are you feeling in that moment? You're just like, yo, I gotta leave this job. Like,
well, so I bartended for a long time.
Okay.
It was the only job I could do where I could leave for a couple months and come back and still work, But as I was working at some places, then eventually they, I was gone a lot to where they're like hiring somebody else new to kind of start taking my space, my place and stuff, And so like, and also I was getting way burnt out too myself. And so eventually I just kind of said, fuck it, I'm going to go for it. But then there was that period where all of a sudden it's like, damn, okay, I'm not supplementing all this income. And there was like a part where I was like, what the hell am I doing? But then I, just grinded through it, and then it gets easier and easier and easier. And it's like, now I'm comfortable, and it's like, it feels great.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about like how your music is like, are you signed, not signed? You manager, no manager? I heard you say agent before. Like, what's your team look like? And of those people, how do you decide like, oh, we're going to work together?
Yeah. So I'm completely independent. I work with, I have a few different agents that I've built up rapport with over the years. I didn't really start getting agents until I started booking enough shows to where I didn't need one. You know what I mean? Kind of. And then after that, then I kind of got approached more like, hey, do you want to work together? I can get you in this market, or I can get you in this. And, it made more sense that way. That's kind of how it works, I guess, with them, And, I started off by doing a lot of like playing like, I played bass for this like rock band for a little bit, and like playing new venues. And I would come in, bring my band in there. We would play a lot of like cover kind of bar band stuff, but it would get me in the door to where they were like, okay, you come with your own music. And so I transitioned from doing all the cover stuff to doing like, okay, now I'll just bring like opener too, and then I'll do mostly my own original sets in there. But I have my buddy Corey, he's my business partner as well. He's been grinding me for a long time. He DJs for me on the road, with me at the Gravy Show. And then I partnered with this other band in the Judd Who's band this year, and another band in the Midwest that play a bunch, and we're doing a partnership coming together. There's like two bands in one essentially, but all my band guys are like 1099, independent contractors. And so like I wrote all the music, just coordinate it. Here's the shows, here's what you play, here's what you get paid, And then so with this band, they had some turnover in the band with their singer. And so we decided to come together where I would like front their band, but we'd book it as two bands in one.
I see.
Kind of thing. So we've been doing that, and they have a guy that helps book with them and kind of manage their band as well too. So, I mean, I do a lot of my work, a lot of my booking, but working with somebody else is nice kind of now to kind of help make it a little bit easier, as well too. But
what's been something that's been helpful for you getting shows? Like even when you just like started too, like something that like, someone's listening who's like an artist on the rise right now. It's like they're trying to figure out how to even get locked in for shows.
Owning your own production. Owning your own production. You can bring the party, provide a venue, 4 hours of entertainment. You know what I mean? If you can do that, then and you make sure that it's quality entertainment.
So when you say bring the production, you're like own your mics, own your speakers, own your
mics, your speakers, lighting. Like, as soon as you start doing that, you get paid more. It's a lot more work. You know what I mean? You're moving speakers, you're setting up, you're troubleshooting, you're doing all this stuff all the time, but it's worth it more than to pay you, because a lot of venues and stuff don't have that stuff, you know what I mean? Or places that don't have it, and you can come in and bring the whole thing there. Then it's like, okay, instead of paying you, a couple $100, like I'll pay you $1,000 to bring this stuff, or I'll pay, you know what I mean? Or pay you, then you start going to places and you start bringing more people in the door. Then all of a sudden that 1,000 turns to 2,500.
You become like a one-stop shop, and it becomes it's a quicker way to make it like a lucrative business as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's actually really smart. I just did this insane Connect 4 tournament here at the Stanford Town Center, dude.
I saw that.
Which all started with a silly joke, became a very serious Connect 4 tournament. But to what you're saying is like, you know, for that event, I brought everything in. You know, and granted, the mall had the stage, but other than that, like, you know, we brought in the speakers. I sourced a LED screen. Nice. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, it was a little overkill for what we were doing, but, like, you know, the point is, like, bringing the production, like, it makes it, like, the whole thing. You know what I mean? Like, you just having that production value, like, made that event way sicker. And it also helps your reputation, right? So it's like, if someone goes to a show, they see you, they're like, yo, this sounds good. The lights are sick. It's like, how come every time I see Denham, everything's so dope? You know what I mean? And then it's like, you actually lock them in as, like, a fan, and they'd be more willing to like go see you again. You know what I mean?
100%. And also, well, I'm playing, before it, I'm just doing like hip hop shows. I'm playing venues and we're playing with their house speakers, and it's just like, it's not entertaining because you're just like at this place that you go to. It's almost like an open mic night or something, you know what I mean? Versus now I can go there and, you know, even when I didn't really have much stuff, I was still like making some, like doing some decoration and stuff on the stage and things just to make it look different, to provide some like your
production value.
Yeah, some, again, experience, you know what I mean? And so then after a while, people will just be like, yeah, I can go to the same place I go to all the time, but it's like, when I go to the shows that Denham does, it's just a little more fun. You know what I mean?
When did you start like decorating like the stages and like having a care for this? Like, when did you realize that that was an important thing to do?
Once I started like really putting on my own shows, you know, before I was always just scrambling to be a part of shows and other artists and stuff, you know, but you know, you never make any money and you're just like, you know, you're just playing there and it's just like 10 openers and 10, you know, people on the bill. So it just like kind of gets all watered down and washed away. And I was like, I need to do something that stands out different, you know?
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense too. What would you say like one of the biggest struggles you've had to overcome in your career is?
One of the biggest for me, especially being like where I'm at geographically, is like it's like this fact that like, you know, being called a rapper. And although like I know I feel like I do so much more musically than just rap, but like being in a demographic where I'm at, you know, like with it being a predominantly country market and a lot of stuff too, like you say that word, all of a sudden a lot of people like venues would not book you.
Oh, it's so true, dude. I can attest to that too. There's a venue here that you know, and keep in mind I'm not even a rapper, but they'll like sometimes people are confused at what I do, so they'll just kind of like just throw me in that category. They'll just be like, Mike Squires, rapper. Like, you know, but to your point, no, that's like a legitimate thing. And also, fun fact, do you know that if you're getting touring insurance, it's more expensive if you're a rapper? It's fucked up.
Yeah.
Fucked up, dude.
Yeah.
But my bad. Let me
that's true. That's true though. That's true.
Yeah. So like, you know, have you had an instance though where it's like they were calling you a rapper and you didn't get booked because of it? Obviously, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And like, were you able to go back to the venue and just be like, nah, that's not me? Like, I make other type of music too. Like, look, I got a guitar. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
some places that I never did, you know. Other places though too, like I mean, there's times where all of a sudden, like, you know, somebody they knew was like, hey, you need to book this guy, and they're like, oh, what do you mean? I thought he was like, no, it's not like that at all. And then we go there and do well at their place, and then it's like, then they can't change it. They're like, oh, I never knew I could like this kind of music because, you know, I'm coming with the full band, and it's like, it's a, you know, it's really,
it's a different vibe, dude.
Yeah.
I saw your tiny desk actually. That was sick, dude. But that's like the kind of vibe that you bring to the table. You know what I mean? I think that's like really fucking sick.
Thank you, man. Yeah, and it's like, and that's at a jazz club, you know, and they were like, they never had anything like that for too, you know, but like, you know, they see that as long as you care about your craft and you actually like take the time to make your show a show, anybody can appreciate that, you know?
No, that's the truth, dude. That's the truth. Well, on the flip side, so we talked about your biggest struggle. What would you like, if you were to pinpoint your biggest moment of success, what would that be?
Biggest moment of success was the day I decided to stop relying on others. Yeah, and I decided, you know what, like, you know, I'm going to do everything that I can. I'll learn to do it all, you know? And that was a day when I'd moved a bunch of friends to talk them into coming down to Sioux Falls to like help chase his dream with me. And we had got this phone app that had allowed us to like, it was a crew app, and we could make like goals and like all the stuff on it. And life kind of took its course and everybody kind of dropped off except for me and my buddy Corey. And we had like, 1 year, 5 year, 10-year goals. And then fast forward like 6, 7 years later, Corey and I were like, we should make an app. We should get an app to kind of like help coordinate the stuff, And so I re-downloaded the same app and I popped it up, and then all of our goals are on there. We did every single one of them, and it was just me and Corey. And I was like, that was when things started changing,
Yeah, it's crazy though too, because I have a lot of friends that I came up with too that were, doing music and stuff, and like I'm literally like one of the last ones standing in my circle too, which is like, that sucks, dude, a little bit. Like, I hate that for me. But you know what I mean? It's just sometimes how it happens,
Doing what you love is easy, but life's the hard part,
It's the truth, dude, and it's like, but I think there's also like, it's kind of, when you said like not relying on others too, to me, it's like, that's like the big difference thing when you decide that like, oh, I'm just going to do it all myself, dude. And we talked very briefly, we talked about, but like, I'm just built a booth here. You're like, oh, I built a booth. It's like, yo, sometimes you're going to have to get into avenues that, like we're a carpenter this week. You know what I mean? We're like, you just got to figure it out. You know what I mean? It's like, have I ever painted any walls before this? No, but like, it's not that hard. You could figure it out. So it's like, I think there's like an overarching premise of just like, sometimes you're just going to have to do some things in your career that you're not expecting to do to make it happen.
And don't involve music at all.
Yeah. And then also like for people too, it's like, it's also hard to find people that might be as motivated as you. You know what I mean? It's like, and no one's going to be motivated about your career more than yourself.
Facts.
You know what I mean? So,
and you can't blame them for that.
No, I don't blame anyone. Yeah, you definitely can't.
I never did. You know what I mean? But then all of a sudden, like, then they see things like the picture started to unfold. You know what I mean?
It's fucked up, dude. I feel like I left some homies at the train station. You know what I mean? Like the train left, and I'm just like, dog. Like, I mean, you could get back on, but you got a lot of other stuff you got to figure out before you can get to like where I'm at in the front of the train. I don't know. Fucking,
yeah.
It's like, dude, yeah. It is tough. It is tough. When your friends kind of like started fading to black, like in their careers, like what did that look like? They just like weren't just showing up. They just weren't doing anything. If I had to guess,
it's kind of on a person to person basis. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I had a lot of them. They kind of just rolled with until it got a point in time where they're like, okay, I can just go do my own thing now. So they kind of like, they rolled with, and I got them into doing it and people knowing them and stuff like that. And they're like, kind of went off into their own thing, which is like, hey, good for you. It was cool. You know what I mean? Same time too. And other ones just kind of, just life just took a different course and they just wanted something different, and so.
That's another thing too. It's not for everybody. You know what I mean? And like, I have friends that have like done music and, now do something different with their life, but they found like a lot of fulfillment in whatever else they're doing now. You know what I mean? So it kind of just, cause music's a tough game, dude. Like it's like a brutal, brutal, brutal industry. Like it's almost comedic. I can name like 50 times I've been let down, dude. Do you have like an instance that like of something where you're like mad excited for it and it just didn't unfold?
Man, multiple ones.
Yeah, do you have like a specific one that comes to mind, dude, that you'd be willing to share?
Yeah, there's a guy who's I can't go into too many details because they'll be able to.
No, I understand. Fake names, fake, yeah.
This guy, he's got more money than God, and he.
We'll call him Bezos, dude.
Yeah, he's basically like one of those guys. He's definitely in the high categories. And he was really supportive for a long time, and kind of like teased me with this idea, like, hey, how can I help you make this happen? And I've spent like months and months, like really thinking about how. And putting together this business plan and like, trying to figure out what's the best way to approach this, you know what I mean? And it's like, and then I finally feel like, okay, like I think I'm ready to ask now, to kind of show it to him, and then I do, and then just kind of get ghosted.
Damn, dude. Yeah, bro, and I just had this conversation yesterday with one of my friends. I'm not going to use his name just in case I expose details of our conversation, but, dude, people are out here trying to sell fucking dreams, dude. I hate it. I hate it so much. They're like, I'd rather somebody come up to me and be like, yo, I don't know shit, but I'm like willing to put the work in and figure this out with you, versus like, yo, I could have a lot of money to throw at the situation. Let's make you a superstar. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, yo, like, ew. You know what I mean? It's like it's just not a realistic thing, you know, because with the conversation I had with my friend yesterday, it's like money also isn't the solve, where it's like, because if money was the solve, every rich kid would be a poppin' artist. You know what I mean? It's
exactly.
like, but that's just not the case because there's so much more that goes into it. It's like building the brand. Like people have to like you. You know what I mean? Like people have to like you. You know what I mean? Like, or I mean, I guess there are instances where people don't like you, but even like being polarizing is great though. You know what I mean? Like that's a different category where it's like, you know, if you have people that don't like you will like you and will fight for you, then it's like you actually end up becoming more popular because people will bicker over you. You know what I mean? But like for the most part, you got to find your base. I don't know where I'm going 100% with this tangent, but the point is, I hate people trying to sell dreams, dude.
And it's like the thing is, like, you know, like you said, like money's not the solve all, but like, you know, like, and I never. There's times I probably could ask, and I've had people like, you know, say like, oh, what if I gave some cash to help out, and like, you know, and I told them no, because I'm like, I don't know what I'd do with it yet, you know, I don't know.
That's actually really important that you said that too. I think because it's like that was a conversation I had last night. I was like, dude, if you got the money, what would you do with it? I was like, do you even know what you would spend this on? Like,
I do now. I actually do now.
What would you spend it on, dude?
I mean, continual branding budget. I would up production. So when I come and do my own shows, I have nice production. I'd spend time on booking artists that I know in areas that I know that do well, and then playing along with those, building those markets, keep playing them. Like you know, like I know I have a vision. I know what I 100% know what I would do with it now. You know. But like at the time when I was younger, I didn't, you know what I mean? But now I do, and it's like, you know, like I feel like I'm at this age now where they expect you to have your own like at this time too. So it's like, you know,
it takes time to figure out these things too. You know what I mean? Like stuff, you know, 10 years ago, what I know now versus then, it's like a different, like 10 years ago, dude, I had a crazy manager that like, it's too long of a story to tell now, but like ended up getting arrested for like shooting like through a blank hotel door, dude. Bro, it's too long of a story right now. But the point I'm trying to make with that is sometimes when you're younger, you don't know what you're looking for. But as you've been in the game, the red flags, you just see them immediately. You're not jaded, but you're just like, all right, I know this dude. This is the dude that like tried to sell me the dream 3 years ago, again in a different form. You know what I mean?
100%.
So,
and I wouldn't. The thing is, like right now too, if I did like somebody's like in a, you know, invest X amount of money for me, I wouldn't take it all up front. It'd be like a line of credit as I need it for stuff. You know what I mean? Because like, you know, because it's not necessarily you all need it at one time for some stuff. You know what I mean?
Which is smart because someone listening would be like, oh no, I'll take the lump sum. You know what I mean?
For sure,
like,
100%. And then you're gonna end up just like all these people with these labels that just get ruined. You know what I mean? And it's like, but it's nice because like, you know, I own everything that I do, and like, you know, and like I have a control of everything I'm doing, and I would be able to keep building it as is like this. You know,
people
what I mean?
underestimate the ownership of it too, because, you know, I feel like there's a lot of artists out there who are like, yo, I want to sign a deal, but it's like, you know, I'm not by any means a huge artist, but I live off my music full time. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, maybe people's perception of being able to live off of music is skewed a little bit because they think it has to be this like, oh, you have to be going around the country selling out venues, 1,000 cap every, like, you know what I mean? You don't need all that to sustain yourself. You know what I mean? Is
100%.
that part of the goal and you want to get up there depending on who you are? Yes. You know what I mean? But there's a lot that you can do right now to sustain yourself and build an actual career and foundation that you can live off of that, like, you don't need all the other pizzazz of these labels, these everything. And I'm not anti-label, but I'm just saying, like, you don't need them.
100%. Like I built the DJ business off it because I'm touring and I'm playing with DJs all the time, and you know, and I was like, well, how do I find a way just to, you know, get my production moving? You know, someone sit at the warehouse just sitting there. You know what I mean? Like, and so like, you know, and I know a bunch of DJs obviously for it, you know, and so we started doing that. We started doing like weddings, and like, you know, and at first like it was a good way to raise money to tour, and so I would DJ weddings sometimes too, or just MC them and have a DJ there, you know. And people would always be like, oh, what, I can get you my wedding. Are you serious? You know, whatever. And like, I was making extra cash, and I was like taking risks and going on tours, and you know, the ones I wasn't getting paid for, but I had the money to go do it. You know what I mean? Because I spent 10 days doing this. You know what I mean? You know, 10 days doing this. All of a sudden, then I had an extra 20, 30 grand to go do some stuff. You know what I mean? Whatever. Like you can, you know, like, you know, there's music. There's so many ways it's tough to kind of like do it, but as long as you have to make your whole life about it. You know what I mean?
No, it's true, dude. And things will start to feed off each other too. And it's like, you'll kind of figure out, there are like ways that you'll be like, oh, you know, I could help my podcast by doing this over here. Like, you know what I mean? There's a lot of ways to like make things work and eat off each other. And also like open up, for me, at least in my case, like I've been able to open up opportunities for my homies where it's like, yo, you're trying to do this. This isn't exactly that, but if you do this, I think it'll like alley-oop you to try to do what you're trying to do. You know what I mean? What's some of the best advice you've ever gotten?
Don't spend money unless you're making money.
It's a great advice. I wish, dog, you're talking to the wrong dude. I spent so much money, dude. And like, I think overall I've been the greed. I think.
If it's personal money, I'm terrible with it. But if it's business money, then that's different, you know?
Dude, I'm like, I don't even know. Like, I think I have it worked out. We'll find out soon, dude. You know what I mean? But yeah, that is great advice. Yeah. I wish I listened to that advice, dude. I'm like an idiot. I'm like, yo, like, is that going to be sick? Because my mentality sometimes is terrible, dude. Because I'm like, yo, if I died tomorrow, would I rather have the fucking puppet of me or would I rather have the money in the bank? And I'm like, nah, I want the puppet of me, dude. So like, I spend dumb money, dude. Like,
it's also like, the thing with it though, too, is like, it's not just a sense of just that. It's also a sense of like, it's like finding the way to like, you know, provide, thinking like that's the way that anybody that does business that you want to work with thinks. So then when you're working with them, you're like, what value can I provide to them to spend their time or the effort working with me as well? You know what I mean?
No, 1,000%. I think at the end of it, I'm actually okay. Like, you know what I mean? I'm okay. I'm not like, I'm good. You know what I mean? Yeah. But yeah, no, it's tricky too. And maybe that's something we could talk about a little bit is just like, you know, what are the things that you spend your money on and like that are important to you that like help you sustain?
It's like personally or through music?
Through music too. Like I know like for me, like mixes is one of them. Like that's probably one of my bigger expenses when it comes to music. And I do a lot of like if I'm not doing the cover, I have my dude Jose who does it, who's an incredible artist. He's doing like all the 50 States covers. But I would say those are like my two expenses for 50 States project. You know what I mean? So it's like, what are the things that you think artists should be spending their money on and not spending their money on?
I think you should not spend it on pay to plays. I think you should build your own markets, play places, find ways to make it make sense for you like that and make money versus like paying to be cool for 15 minutes. You know what I mean? Unless it's like, or really, really makes sense or you're trying to build new markets, you know what I mean? And like, you know, but besides that though, I mean, I spend a lot of money on marketing, you know, and getting, you know, videos out and people like seeing you and hearing you and reaching new people on the internet. You know what I mean? Like, that's something that I've been spending a good amount of money on.
When you say marketing, do you mean like Google ads, like Facebook ads?
Yeah, Meta ads, you know, Google ads, you know, quality video content. If you know, obviously I do a lot of stuff on my own and make it on my own, but sometimes you need to do something a little extra special. You know what I mean?
Yeah, speaking of an extra special video, dude, I want to make sure that we cover this before you get out of here, dude. You had the mystery machine?
Oh, yeah.
How'd you get the mystery machine for a video, dude? Yeah, if we got through this podcast and I was editing it back and I did not bring this up, I would have been pissed, dude.
Yeah, it was a junkyard. I was in South Dakota. I used to drive by all the time as a kid, and I always saw that mystery machine. Like, I could see the top of it out over the fence. And then I was like, driving by one day, I was like, yo, I should do a video with that thing, you know? So I went and stopped at this junkyard, and this dude, the owner, and I'm talking in the middle of nowhere. And I asked him, I was like, hey, man, it's like, you know, that mystery machine, like, you know, is it, if I get it detailed and washed and, you know, whatever, can we just like pull, you know, use it, like, you know, we don't gotta leave it. We can leave it in the junkyard, you know? And I went in the junkyard, and there's actually so much cool stuff in there. I was like, how about I was like, yo, we bring this mystery machine out, I'll get it detailed, get it cleaned. He's like, and then I'll just like, you know, I could give you some money just to use the junkyard for the day. And, you know, and it's like a small town too. So he was like, oh, I don't know, like, you know, how much money we talking, you know, whatever, you know? And I was like,
well, how much was he looking for?
I said $500, and he was like, absolutely. I was like,
yeah, dude.
Should have started at 100.
Yeah, dude, bro. I'm good. Like, I'm definitely good at negotiating. You know, this is some advice that I recommend. Never say the price first. If you can hold out as long as you can, Because there have been,
For sure.
dude, there have been videos I've done where it's like, I don't know, I would have been like, oh, I'll do it for $300. And then they're like, yeah, we have a budget of $2,000. I was like, if we can just keep it at $2,000, like we'll be okay. And I'll be like, oh, yes.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, yeah, so sometimes you can like hurt yourself by saying the price first, but sometimes you have to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it was I mean, it was like it was way worth it though. There's so much cool stuff in there. And
Oh
like,
yeah, dude. That's the thing.
know.
As long as you can get your value out of it too, you know what I mean? And like, I'm like big on just like, cause I did this Connect 4 event, and it's funny. Someone's like, they're like, damn, someone came up to me. They're like, dude, it was like big success. You made so much money. I was like, dude, I lost money on this event. I was like, one, it's a free event. Where are we making the money? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's a free event. No one's making money. I made a donation, but like outside of that, like I'm talking about just like the event expenses. I was down, like, you know what I mean? But one, everyone had a great time. But two, I view it as like a marketing thing too, where it's like, you know, there's a lot of people who know who I am now who didn't know. I got on the news because of this Connect 4 event. I was like, there's a lot of value. You know what I mean? So it's like the point I'm trying to make with that moment is that like, you know, I spent money on the event, but I got a lot of value out of it that'll hopefully translate to something in the future.
And that's the nice thing about like owning your own stuff is like, you know, you're able to take those chances more. You know what I mean? And like, you know, like I can go, somebody has something going, I'm like, oh, don't worry, I'll come bring you sound, I'll come bring you lighting for it, I'll come bring, you know, like, you know, stuff for that. It'll make it look really cool, you know, I can bring the smoke machine, or I can bring this, you know, whatever. And then like, they like appreciate that so much, you know what I mean? And it's like, and for you, it's like, just a little bit of labor, you know, because if you own this stuff, you know what I mean? It's not like it costs you as much money wise, but it like,
it's a smart business strategy too. Like I've done that, like where it's like you take the initiative, you know what I mean? It's like maybe one time you go to a club and you bring all your stuff for free. They see how it's like, they see how much better their club is that night. And you know what I mean? Now you're their guy for, you know what I mean? For indefinitely, you know what I mean? So I think there's a lot of smart things. There's one other thing. You know what? This is random, dude, but I learned this from you, dude. Because we were talking about Mount Rushmore. Like, I don't know. Because I was going to do Mount Rushmore for the cover art, and then you called me and you're like, dude, like, nah, Mount Rushmore's got some like, I don't remember what you told me, but I remember there's
crazy
like,
history to it.
I was like, damn, the dark side of Mount Rushmore, dude. So like, we don't fuck with. Can we talk about Mount Rushmore before we get out of here, dude? Because I just remember this being very interesting, and I was like, I learned a lot from you.
Yeah, we can. I mean, so obviously it's, you know, it's got a lot of history from America, but like being in South Dakota, you learn like the, you know, a lot of the history behind it from through the eyes of like indigenous people as well too. And the mountain that it was carved on was actually, it was like a sacred mountain for, I want to say it was like 8 fathers that were like 8 of some of the most like influential heroes of Native American culture. And it was like one of the most sacred pieces of land that they had in like the Americas. And obviously history took its place, and people came and started settling over here, and obviously a bunch of, you know, fight back and forth with them. And they had taken that mountain and then carved the forefathers on the mountain. But they can't, people always talk about putting more faces on it and stuff, you know, but they can't put any more faces on it because the mountain won't hold it. So they can only have the 4. They're not able to do anything extra with it, you know. And then so now the indigenous, not too far from there, trying to building their own sculpture of Crazy Horse, which is huge. It'll be way bigger than kind of that is, but it's like a project taken for a long time due to funding, and it's like all an independent project basically, essentially, you know. But it's definitely got a very dark side to it, because it was definitely, it was like a slap in the face to the history of what America was beforehand. You know what I mean?
It's really just a crazy idea altogether, dude. Like, somebody was like, yo, up there, you know what I mean? Like, just didn't give a fuck. He was just like, we're gonna put their faces up there, but like, did it, dude? It's like, it's like kind of a psychotic idea, dude, if you think about it. Like,
I mean, it's like,
It's a little different than like the Statue of Liberty. Statue of Liberty you bring in, that's like, yo, we're gonna carve them up there. That's fucking nuts, dude.
What do they call it when? Even the Statue of Liberty though too. You know, the Statue of Liberty's got chains on her feet.
Dog, you're now the dark side of the Statue of Liberty.
Have you seen that? Though?
What other monument, dude? I gotta.
So a lot of it is all just look at the story about the chain. Why she has chains on her feet and why it's on her feet and not up on her hands.
Oh man.
And why they had to hide them. But a lot of this stuff is like. What do they call it? What do they call it? Like, you know, when like third world countries put all these, like communist countries, they feed you all this like stuff that it's
is it
like,
propaganda?
Propaganda, yes.
Yeah.
A lot of it is literally propaganda built to like paint this image of what they want you to, you know, believe about American history, which is.
As for someone who's doing a 50 states project, I feel like I should be a little bit more in tune with American history. Dude, I was shocked when you told me the Mount Rushmore thing, dude. I was devastated. I was like, oh no. You know what I mean? Because you see it in the textbook, you're like, oh, that's sick. And then you're like, no. The dark side of Mount.
But it's cool. You see like, wow, that's cool. Like art that somebody could do that into a mountain and stuff too. But like
at what cost, dude?
The reasoning behind it is really dark, actually.
Yeah. Before I get you out of here, dude, I'm gonna ask you what your Mount Rushmore is. Like, if you had 4 artists, musical influences that you could put on the Denham Mount Rushmore.
Nice.
Yeah, who would they be?
So I grew up as a big neo soul guy growing up and stuff too. So, and I probably put Maxwell up there. I gotta put Lil Wayne on it.
That's fire, dude. That's fire.
Gotta put Lil Wayne on it. I gotta put Victor Wooten on there.
Dang, I have not met somebody who is also a Victor Wooten fan.
Really?
Dude. Yeah, bro. I am a big Victor Wooten fan.
I went to his Wooten Woods camp. I've actually even met him and his family. He's a really nice dude.
We're gonna have to give me the last one, and then we're gonna quickly. You can't tell me that in the fourth quarter and we not talk about it.
And then the last one on there. Oh man, I want to say one, but I had to take him off because.
Oh, I know the dude. It's a tough time to be a fan of that guy.
I had to take him off.
Yeah, dude, it's tough, dude. Oh man, I lose sleep over that guy. We don't have to talk about that.
Yeah, so I put Music Soul Child on there.
All right, cause that's a good lineup, dude. Yeah. Before we get out of here, dude, and now that I'm stressed thinking about that other guy who's put me through so much frustration in my life. Tell me the Victor Wooten story, dude, because that's incredible. I'm a big Victor Wooten fan.
Yeah, I don't know how my mom pulled it off or how she did, because my mom grew up on being a social worker, and needless to say, money wasn't really much of like, you know, didn't really come easy around our place, and she like wanted to do something special for us when we graduated high school, and she did something for my sister. She saved up for a long time, and she got me into this camp, and it's out kind of by Nashville, and I flew out there, and I was out there for 10 days, and Victor was there, and he had all his brothers were there, you know, and his mom even came, hanging out, and he'd bring in all these musicians from all over the world. I mean, I was like one of only like 5 people from America at this camp, out of like 50 that were there.
Insane, dude.
And
to have like that personal experience with Victor Wooten's crazy, dog.
He's the most down to earth, like nicest dude. Although I was still kind of a little shithead back then too. But he and throughout the camp, like he would bring in all these super incredibly interesting people that would like teach you not only like about music, but like how to understand like energy and with people on stage and understanding yourself and be able to, you know, like he brought in a guy that was like used to train Bruce Lee.
Insane, dude.
And he like came in and was teaching us like, you know, like how to like centering yourself and your personality and being like, you know, being like almost like understanding how to be rather be like a warrior in a farm than a farmer in a war. You know what I mean? Kind of thing, you know? And like, and we would like go through the woods blindfolded, following these strings, either just like trust your ears, like to go to things. And he would bring in world-class musicians like the Weather Report, and they would just play for us at dinner time. And it's just like, it's one of the most incredible experiences ever. And he just walk around, it's regular dude, you see him every day, and he's super nice, talented as heck at basketball, great ping pong player.
Insane, dude.
Dog at ping pong. Yeah.
I mean, he's a great bass player, so I feel like there's some sort of correlation between ping pong and bass, dude. Like just being good with your hand, like. I don't know. But no, that's insane, dude. I'm glad that I asked the Mount Rushmore question, dude, because that, wouldn't have found that out otherwise.
Shout out Victor Wooten.
Yeah, well, like what's something that you learned from him that you kind of carry with yourself today?
Man, if you ever watched any of his videos, I mean, he's an incredible teacher. Like one of the coolest things about is like playing your guitar and stuff and things. It's like really just like stop thinking about the constructs and confines of music as much as like just doing things musically all the time. Like he's like, if you play the wrong note, you're only one half step away from the right one. Just slide up or slide down or whatever. But as long as you're like doing things musically, like when you're practicing, instead of just like sitting there practicing scales, like play it with a drum track, actually has real drums on it, or play with something like that to make you feel like, oh, I'm actually doing something musical versus just like sitting in your room and just like hammering away at pages and stuff, whatever, and just like completely encompassing yourself just to make it so familiar and like locked in within your body. And I would just recommend seeing this stuff. There's not a teacher out there like that.
Oh, that's what I'm saying, dude. And I've seen you play bass too, and like I've always thought you were dope at bass. But now knowing that you have Victor Wooten like at the foundation of that's even say like I'd be like, yo, like who has like been an influence on this guy at one point? Victor fucking Wooten, dude. No, that's really iconic, dude. And shout out your mom, dude, because that's an insane thing. I guess the last thing, dude, before we get out of here, if people want to find you, how can they connect with you and find you, dude?
Yeah, all social platforms at my name 3 times, Denham, Denham, Denham. Yeah, it's on there, all social platforms. And if you like, check it out. Listen to some music. If you like it, get him to follow.
You should do that. I mean, if you've made it to this point in the podcast and you don't follow him, you're a dickhead, to be honest. We've been talking for an hour. It's like, come on. Like, you know what I'm saying? But, dude, I appreciate you coming on, dude.
Yeah, thanks,
I want to get you back to New York so you can enjoy, I guess, the Statue of Liberty, dude, the dark side of it. Jesus, dude. I don't know. Maybe we'll go to Central Park, but not after night, dude. I don't know. Just enjoy your day, dude.
All right, man. Thanks, man. Appreciate you.